Hello and welcome back. My name is Claire. Today we're going to be doing another full body workout. However, we're going to have a bit of a specific focus on our posterior chain, our spine. So I'm going to be using my box today, that's all. And I've got it set up in a short box position to get us started. And then spring-wise, I'm going to be working on a relatively light spring. So I'm going for a blue and a yellow, which is my light and my extra light spring. If you don't have the option to have that extra light spring on with your light one, just to give it a little bit more support, I'd actually recommend going up rather than going down just for this first part of our workout, because we're going to be working some hamstrings. So we definitely want a little bit of support there. Okay, so once you've got that all set up, we're going to come down for a little bit of a warm up, sitting on our carriage with our back up against our box. So just give that box a little bit of a push so it's right up against your shoulder blocks. Okay, and I'm just going to start by bringing my feet up onto the foot bar, right onto the toes, the arches, it doesn't really matter, and shuffle my bottom all the way down to that front edge of the carriage. So my sit bones are still on the carriage, and I want to find a neutral spine. So in this position, it's really easy for us to start to hunch forward or extend back, but to start with, I just want you to find neutral. So we're tilting our pelvis so that our tailbone is pushing down into the carriage, all right? Just sitting a comfortable distance away from the foot bar, it doesn't really matter. Having about 90 degrees through the knees, if that feels okay on your hips, is probably best. And then we're gonna take our hand in behind our head and just start to move through a little bit of spinal flexion and extension. So we're going to draw those elbows in and round through the back here, pulling the belly in. And then we're going to open the elbows, come through neutral, and then extend through that up and middle back. Pulling forward, we find flexion. Now that flexion can be a little bit uncomfortable against the box here. Let's have a little bit of a play around with where the best spot is. We're just finding that movement though. Pulling the belly in as we flex. Expanding through the chest, but staying as neutral through that low back as possible, okay? So we don't want to be pressing into the box and arching through the, into the carriage and arching through the back. We actually want to keep that neutral position with the pelvis and feel the opening coming from the upper back. Before you pull in, elbows in round. Open, find extension. I like to breathe in as my ribs open. And breathe out as those elbows come in. Beautiful. We'll just take one more here. And then rest those hands down beside us. All right, so we're going to start with a bit of a pelvic curl series here. In this position, we want to have our heels about hip width apart. We want to start with the bottom low, but we're actually going to be lifting the hips up off of the carriage. So if you need to lift up a little bit higher onto your back to help you get into the position, that's fine. However you get there is fine. I like to have my bottom low here, bring my elbows up onto the box, lift my hips up, and then we want to shuffle down so that we have our shoulder blades on the box, but from about your mid back. So think about your bra strap line is off of the box here. So just shuffle down into a comfy position, okay? My hands are going to come in behind my head just for support. All right, if you prefer to keep your hands on your hips, okay, across your chest is also another option, or just having them down beside you, it is fine. Okay, so from here, we want to be squeezing the bottom and thinking about a tuck, so we're protecting through that low back. Your knees want to be in line with your hips, and we just want to push out from that stopper ever so slightly, enough to give us just enough space where we can drop the bottom down just about halfway, and then drive the hips up, maintaining the position of the carriage. So we're going to inhale as the bottom drops down, and exhale as you press up, squeeze the bottom. All right, so keep that going. It's really important that we do have the correct positioning on the box. Okay, if you are too high up, the extension is purely going to be through the low back because you've got stability underneath your upper back. Okay, so make sure you are far enough down on that box that you're able to maintain that neutral position through the low back, but you feel that extension coming from the mid, the upper back, and then we're driving up. Inhale, slowly lowering the bottom down. And exhale to drive up. Beautiful. So once you come through neutral, through halfway, we continue to lower down through the back. You're going to feel the extension through that mid and upper back here. And you're going to drive up, squeeze the bottom. So starting to feel our hamstrings switch on as we keep the position of the carriage as still as possible. If you want this to be a little bit more challenging, a little bit less stability, we can reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Keeping our eye gaze staring straight up in between the fingertips. Inhale as you draw down. Exhale, driving up. Beautiful. We're going to start to add on in just a few here. So really think about that tuck, that squeeze of the glutes, that pushing down through the heels so that we can really fire those muscles on just before we make this slightly more intense. Let's do one more here and we'll hold up for some little pulses. So little squeeze up, drop, lift, drop, lift. Okay, so arms up here are optional. If that is too much for you, feel free at any time to bring them back down into your original position. Try to keep that carriage still, firing the back of the legs and squeezing the bottom. Hip bones are moving evenly up and down, deep abdominal muscles on, so that wrapping in between those hips. We've got 3, 2, 1, hold up here. Can we press the carriage out and then press down through the heels to bring it in as far as you can. Pushing out, keeping that lift through the hips and drawing in. So this is where you're going to need that extra support through those springs. So you'll feel now if you've gone too light, as you're going to feel like you're going to send yourself all the way up the other end of the reformer and lose the grip down through the heels, okay? So you want to have just enough support underneath you that you don't feel like your hamstrings are going to rip off the back of your leg, okay? But you want it just light enough so that the effort to pull in is not those springs pulling you in, it is your hamstrings. The heels pulling to the bottom, that folding through the legs, really firing on the back of the legs. All right, we're going to add on in 3. Keep that tuck, that squeeze. 2. Stability through the back here. 1 more, we pull in, we hold in. Can you transfer all your weight into your right leg and lift your left leg up to tabletop? Hips stay steady. Take that heel back down. Transfer all the weight into that left heel. Lift the right leg. All right, if you want that feedback, take your hands to your hip bones. Before one foot lifts up, you really need to press into the heel and fire on that hamstring. Keep the tuck, the squeeze, so we don't bring tension into that low back. And take your time. There's not a rush to march here. All right, the slower you go, the more control you're going to be able to have. So deep abdominal muscles on still, that wrapping between the hips, that tuck, that squeeze of the glutes, the stableness of those hips here as you lift one at a time. Okay, for less support, arms reaching up. For more, hands behind the head. Let's go for 3. For 2, slow and steady. On this next one, my right heel's down, lift your left leg up. Can we push out and in? Single leg hamstring curl. Oh my days. We're not going to stay here long. This is intense. Let's go for 3. For 2. Whew, I'm going to feel that tomorrow. I can already tell. 1 more, draw it in. Take your heel down, little pulses up with those hips. Find that stability from side to side. Lead with that tuck. Keep stable through that low back. We've got 4, 3, 2, hold it. Lift the other leg up. So my right leg is up now. We're pushing out and firing in. Whew. Out. Press down through that heel. Get into that hamstring. Press away and pull in. Just 3 more. Find as much length through that leg as you can for 2. Last one here. Pull it in. Heel comes back down. Pulse those hips up, halfway down. Up, halfway down for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower the self, thyself, yourself, all the way down, carefully bringing your bottom to the carriage. Ooh, slide your bottom all the way up against that box, lengthen out those legs. You're going to bend the knees out into a externally rotated position and grab onto that foot bar. And we're going to take a length and stretch out here, lengthening the back of the legs and also flexing through the spine. Draw in, open the chest. Pull in, nice big stretch through those inner thighs, through those hips. Extend the legs and extend through the back. Sorry, flex through the back. And pull in. Ooh, one more. And draw it all the way in. Nice work. You can bring your feet down. Maybe take a little bit of a twist through the spine here. We're going to move our box into our long box position and get set up for some prone work. So laying down on our tummy, still working through that posterior chain. Your spine should be pretty warm now. So we can come to some more advanced back work. I'm going to take my yellow spring off. So my extra light spring's coming off. So now I just have my half spring on, my light spring, okay? My blue spring, if that speaks to you. Make sure your box is nice and square. And we are going to lower ourselves down so that we're laying down on our belly on your box with your head up over your headrest. All right. In this position, important we have our chest off the box. So ladies, for you, that would be all of the soft parts of your chest, all the way off the box so it's not uncomfortable. And then for men, we're just thinking about coming underneath that strap line, okay? Underneath the bottom of the breast. Our bra line is probably about aligned with the edge of the box here, but all of our bottom ribs are still on the box, so we have a nice little bit of support for the back, okay? We're going to reach down and grab onto our straps. I'm going to hold up around where the knots are on my strap so that I've got a little bit of extra tension, but we're not going to have a lot of tension. So the first couple of exercises are going to feel super light, and I urge you not to rush through it and try and hold further up the ropes, as the intensity is going to build the longer we stay in this position. All right, so because we're working posterior chain, our position here is super important. So don't just jump into this position and start exercising. You need to consciously get your body into really beautiful alignment, okay? So if you don't tend to get any low back pain, I want you to squeeze your legs together. If you do tend to get niggly through the low back, you're just gonna open your legs and turn them out to the side, okay? My legs are currently sitting over the top of the foot bar, but once we become active, they are going to be lifted. Okay, your eye gaze is straight down. So your chin is tucked slightly. The crown of the head is pointing towards the end of the room. Your arms are just softly out to the side, holding onto those straps just so we're very gently pulled off the stopper. I'm going to squeeze my legs. I'm going to tuck my pelvis. So I'm actually pushing the bony part of my pubic bone into the box. And then I'm lifting my belly button up. And this is, if you can see that movement, flattening out my low back, protecting my low back, okay? From here, I'm going to draw my breath in as I squeeze my big back muscles, my mid back muscles, and sweep your arms up next to your hips. And then as you exhale, we lower the hands back down beside us. Now, there is no movement through the body other than that squeeze through the back of the arms and the squeeze through the back muscles, okay? I'm not lifting my head. I'm not lifting my chest. I'm keeping that length through the crown of my head, so my spine is actually completely neutral here. I am lifting through the belly to flatten out my low back, but what you'll probably find in this position is it actually maintains more of a neutral position. It allows our belly to switch on a little bit and protection through that low back to stop us from arching and taking load in the low back. It's important through this work that you don't feel pain in your low back. If you do, come back to that setup. Find yourself in that really lovely position before you then continue to move. All right, I am going to start to add on some upper back extension, some mid and upper back extension. If it's for you, follow along. Otherwise, just continue breathing through this position. So as I sweep my hands, I'm going to inhale and lift the chest just a few inches and exhale to lower back down. Now, because I don't have a dancer's spine, my eye gaze is literally just lifting on top of that black pole running along the end of my reformer, okay? If you do have more of a dancer's spine and you've got beautiful back extension, you might be lifting your eye gaze higher. but the average Joe blog is probably going to be coming about as high as me, maybe even a little bit lower, before you tend to come into that low back. So really squeezing through the thighs, tucking the towel, lifting that belly, squeezing through the mid back, extending through the mid back, and lowering down. Feel that squeeze through the back of the body. Beautiful. We hold up in 2. And one more. Sweep up, hold up. Option to hold that back extension, or you can lower yourself back down to a neutral position. Palms facing down, arms come out to our aeroplane in line with the shoulders, and we squeeze the fingertips back to the side of the body. Inhale, open. Exhale, squeeze back. Now that light spring is not feeling so light for me anymore. So eye gaze is exactly in line with your spine. So whether you're in a neutral spine or a little bit of extension through that upper back is fine. We're going to go for 3. Hold it with me into. One more sweep and hold. Palms facing in, finishing with triceps. Bend and extend. Make sure you've still got that lovely posture. Tuck your tail, lift your belly here. Option to hold that upper back extension, or otherwise lengthen out the spine, eye gaze down. For 6, 5, squeezing everything. 4, 3, 2. Can you hold on the last one? Hold it here, find length. For 3, for 2, and 1. Whoa. Bring it all the way down. Oh my gosh. Pop those straps onto the hooks. I'm going to press all the way up into my 4-point kneel and just start to take some movement through my spine. I always lose my words when I'm puffed. Find that movement through your spine. Feeling a release. You can circle around side to side. Whatever feels good for you. Oh my. And then come and sit on your bottom with your feet on your headrest. It gets intense so quickly. Every time I do prone, I always need to remind myself that I need to do it more. So good for you. All right. Okay, so we have worked extension. Now we're going to work flexion. Okay, we're going to come into our core work, our half rollbacks. This is our last little bit of work for today. So I'm going to reach down and grab onto our straps. I need to get my breath back. I used to be so good at talking through these workouts. I want to blame age, but I feel that's not what it is. I think I need to get my cardio up. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully you got a little bit of a break while I talked away. We're going to shuffle our bottom all the way forward. So I've got most of my box back behind me and my bum right towards this top edge, just giving me some space to work on here. I'm going to sit nice and tall, lengthen through the crown of the head, and my arms are reaching all the way forward. Now you can hold on your straps wherever you feels best for you, but the more the more rope you have, the more support you're going to have, okay? So I think a really nice starting point is just to hold on to the straps wherever you're able to just find that taut position where the straps are nice and tight, okay? I maybe pulled off my stopper 1/2 inch, okay? So from here, just staying soft through those feet, we're going to take our inhale, feel that reach to the crown of the head. As you exhale, we fold in at the belly first, rounding through the spine and roll down just onto that low back if you can, or tailbone if that's where you're at. Inhale, hold for breath. And exhale, we roll ourselves back up. Sit up nice and tall, find length through the crown of the head. Inhale. Exhale, scooping the belly in, rounding through the spine. Inhale, hold. Exhale, folding back up through the belly and sit tall at the top. Beautiful. So now you can just start to explore your range here. You can come lower if you want, but I still want you to maintain flexion through the spine. So at the bottom of your roll back, don't open the chest and let the head fall back, okay? I want you to keep your flexion and your eye gaze straight down towards your knees, okay? Rolling back up. Now, a really good tip on getting a bit more support on the way up is we keep the hands down as we come down. They come all the way down next to the hips. Then on the way up, you can scoop and press up into those straps just to get a little bit more tension underneath you, okay? Or if you want less support, let's hold all the way back where those straps are loose. So we only get that tiny little bit of support at the bottom of our curl, and then the rest is 100% you, baby. All that core work really taking over. All right, if you want this to be a little bit harder, I'm going to take the right leg to a tabletop position, and we're going to continue with those half rollbacks here, keeping your knee in about the same spot. So as you come up, you're pulling that knee in, that thigh in towards your chest. And as you're rolling down, the knee just stays just away from the hip. So your hands are coming down next to your hips and then lifting up as you roll up. All right, now remembering here that you don't need to come down as far as I am coming. Halfway down, just to about here is fine. And for some of you, that might actually be a stronger position. Lift the other leg up and let's start to work through the other side, single side. Welcome to come back to both feet down at any time if that suits you. Can you start to practice finding length through the spine at the top in this position? Okay, so it's a little bit harder on that hip flexor. As you roll up, you're going to want to stay rounded, but I want you to just tilt in through the pelvis, but keep your knee high. Beautiful. All right. Either A, swapping back to the other side and taking both sides again for a few reps on each side. B, keeping both feet down. Or come with me and we'll take this into our teaser. We'll start with teaser prep where we're going to come back onto the tailbone, lift the legs up into your tabletop position, starting with a nice flat back, lengthen crown of the head. Now the key is to find balance before you start to move. So arms reaching forward, feel the stillness. Then we're going to start to scoop in at the belly and roll ourselves down, keeping those knees just past the hips. Then scooping back into the belly as we roll ourselves up. At the top, find length through the spine. So scoop the belly in and pull in through the belly to lift yourself up. If you can, finding length through the spine at the top. Now that is probably the hardest part of our teaser, is actually getting that length through the spine at the top. Now by that I mean you're tilting your pelvis down towards the box. You're coming right back up onto your sit bones, okay? So off the tailbone and onto your sit bones, the bony parts of your bottom. All right, option to lengthen your legs on the way down and pull them in on the way up. Stay at whatever level suits you. Otherwise, we're lengthening them and pulling them up. Now I like to pull down on my straps at the bottom here just a little bit to give me that little bit of support to come up. Final layer, lengthen the legs, keep them long. Roll up, pull your legs in, find length at the top. Whew. All right, whichever version suits you, we've got just 15 more seconds. That's it for 3, for 2, and 1. Whew. Resting those feet down. Pop your straps onto your hooks. The hard work is done, guys. Well done. What a nice way to finish through teaser, or whatever version of that you're working at. It's all working towards a teaser. All right, so I'm just going to sit on my box, straddling my box and start to take a twist here. If you come far enough back that you can reach the foot bar, you can take your right hand over the left thigh and your left hand back towards the foot bar. Eye gaze over the shoulder and just take that little twist here for a few breaths as you let your system calm. And other way. Eye gaze over the right shoulder, pressing into the other knee, your right knee. Whew. All right. You feel your system calming. We're getting close to the end. I'm just going to swivel my feet around to face towards you guys. Coming into a glute stretch. Right ankle up over the left knee. Sit up nice and tall here. Now, a little tip with your stretch, just depending on how tight your hips are. Mine are quite tight. So I actually find that in some positions, like when I've got my foot over my knee, I'm just feeling it in my hip. If I go a little bit further over, I can actually get a little bit deeper into that glute. Maybe even a gentle little push down on that knee. Maintaining a flat back, you could even tilt forward just until you feel that strong stretch in the perfect spot for you. Let me take a few breaths here. Just release tension with every exhale. Just feel yourself sink into the stretch just a little bit more. I could stay here all day. These glutes really need this stretch, but we will keep going. Swap over to the other side, left ankle up. Find that sweet spot. Might be different from the other side. Maybe a gentle push into that knee just to feel that opening through the hip. Finding length through the crown and then taking that gentle lean forward to get into the deep parts of the glutes. Just explore this stretch. It doesn't look the same for any individual, okay? You want to find the position that really gets into the glute, right in that deep part of the glute. Using your breath to continue to calm the system. And then coming all the way up. To finish off with, let's take our feet down to the floor out in front of our reformer and fold ourselves forward. Soft knees, hands heavy, head heavy. Landing your feet into a nice, stable, flat, parallel position. Take opposite elbow to opposite hand. And maybe take a gentle sway from side to side. Feeling that heaviness through the hands and the head, helping to release your spine. The heavier you are through that upper body, the more space you're going to make through the spine, the more release you're going to get. Coming through center, let those hands drop down. Inhale, soften your knees. Exhale, start to scoop up through the belly as you slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Woo, opening the chest at the top. Taking a deep breath in here and letting your shoulders drop. We are all done, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that not everyone is a huge fan of working through the spine and posterior chain, but trust me, your body will love you for it. So keep at it, and I will see you guys back next time. Please feel free to subscribe, comment what you thought about this video, like it, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.